Hey guys, in today's video I'll be doing another tropical update on these two new disturbances that the NHC has been monitoring over the past couple of days. This first disturbance now has a 50% chance of formation into a tropical depression at the least over the next 5 days. It says a fast-moving tropical wave located a couple of 100 miles east of the Windward Islands continues to produce disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity. The disturbance is expected to move westward at about 20 miles per hour during the next 5 days, and that fast-forward speed is likely to limit significant development while the system approaches the Windward and southern Leeward Islands today and moves across to the eastern and central Caribbean Sea on Tuesday and Wednesday. After that time, however, the system is expected to move more slowly westward across the western Caribbean Sea, where upper-level winds could become more conducive for the development of a tropical depression during the latter part of this week. Regardless of development, locally heavy rainfall and gusty winds are expected over portions of the Windward and southern Leeward Islands beginning today through Tuesday morning. So, again, this system has a 50% chance, a medium chance of development over the next 5 days, a 20% chance of formation over the next 2 days. So, most likely as we head towards tomorrow into Wednesday, the chances for both the 2-day and 5-day percentages will go up a good bit. I expect most likely by tomorrow, I think, sometime tomorrow, especially by tomorrow afternoon, both these systems could already be in a high chance of development. This system, in fact, has a 60% chance already of formation within the next 5 days, so it's almost at that high chance of development over the next 5 days. And you can see for this first system, it will head directly west into the Caribbean, and then as it gets towards the western Caribbean, it will start to curve more towards the north and west, and potentially go into the Gulf between the Yucatan and Cuba. And then this system will be coming behind it and either going, it seems like it will likely go towards Puerto Rico. We don't know yet. It's, of course, since it's still pretty far out, whether or not it will go north of Puerto Rico or south of Puerto Rico. If it goes north of Puerto Rico, then it will most likely head towards the East Coast, and the East Coast, the entire East Coast, will have to be on watch for the system. If it goes if it goes south of Puerto Rico, then really the Cuba and Hispaniola and Puerto Rico have to stay on guard for the system, and then maybe eventually the system also could impact the Gulf Coast, which continues to seem more likely than this second system going towards the East Coast, according to the models right now. This system also looks to be heading towards the Gulf Coast just because of the fact that it'll be going through the Caribbean Sea and then up into the Gulf, so we won't really have anywhere else to go than to go into the Gulf Coast of the U.S. And it doesn't look likely that it will curve towards the west and hit Mexico instead. It looks like it will curve towards the northwest as it's heading into the western and going through the western Caribbean, and then it will continue to move more towards the north as it goes through the Gulf and hit somewhere around like Louisiana, Mississippi, along the Gulf Coast. This system, according to the models, looks to heads towards the northern Leeward Islands and then impact Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and Cuba, and then enter the Gulf, and then become a fairly strong system as it's tracking towards the Gulf, and then it will continue to be pretty strong as it's going through the Gulf, and could hit anywhere between, currently it seems, anywhere between the Louisiana coastline around New Orleans, especially towards the Florida Panhandle. So both these systems we're really going to have to watch closely through this whole week, especially as we head towards the end of this week into the weekend. So again, just make sure you tune in and make sure you are aware of these systems each day. And if it's heading towards your area, make sure you prepare now or as soon as possible for these systems. So now let's go to Tropical Tidbits, and I'll show you what it looks like on the satellite imagery and the current projections for the track and intensity and all of that. So here's what it looks like on the satellite imagery. We got to let it load first. Oh man, hold up. Man, this is gonna take a long time. going to take a while, but I mean, I guess for the frames that we can see, it does look very good with a lot of convection around its main area. The center seems to be somewhere around there. And you can see convection continues to generally blow up around the system. It's, of course, still just pretty disorganized currently, but it is slowly trying to get its act together. Most likely by tomorrow, Wednesday, it's more likely Wednesday that we'll see the system really be much more organized and potentially become a tropical depression officially. So I think expect this system, 97L, Invest 97L, to become a tropical depression likely by Wednesday. There's a look at the satellite imagery. And now let's see the hurricane track guidance as of right now. You can see all of them take it directly west into the Caribbean Sea and then curve it towards the north and west into the Gulf. So it's looking more likely than not that it will go through the entire Caribbean and then into the Gulf. So this looks to be more of a Gulf system than curving into the curving somehow north across Cuba or Hispaniola and potentially would impact the East Coast. That doesn't seem really likely at all. This is the GFS track ensemble guidance, and you can see, I mean, the GFS ensemble guidance and GFS in general is not doing a good job at all with these tropical systems, so, I mean, really just take this with a grain of salt. And then here's the CMC, and the CMC has a much wider spread, but it generally shows it. It's more likely than not that it will actually go through the entire Caribbean and then up into the Gulf and hit somewhere between Louisiana and the Florida Panhandle. There's a few that take it north really early, crossing Haiti and then up the East Coast and then out to sea. That doesn't look likely at all, especially with the models that I will be showing you. Here's the current intensity guidance, and you can see a majority of them have it reaching tropical depression, tropical storm status within the next 36 to 60 hours. So expect probably by 48 hours from now for it to officially be a tropical depression, maybe just about to become a tropical storm. And then a majority of them take it through tropical storm status and potentially make it a hurricane as we head farther out in time into around 120 hours out from now. So, of course, we'll have to keep watching this. Both these systems do have a good chance of potentially becoming hurricanes, so that's definitely not out of the question, though we'll still have to watch these systems very closely to see what will happen with them in terms of the environments they'll be going into. And the environments they'll both be going into, in general, they'll be going through very conducive environments, especially because of the fact that we have a MJO phase coming through that will really enhance tropical activity, so that will really help these systems, and plus the fact that there's really warm sea surface temperatures and the dry air and wind shear won't really be much of a factor. So let's look at this first system. First, we'll go to the Western Atlantic to show you the first system. Actually, no, I'm not showing you the GFS because the GFS is garbage right now. So really don't look at the GFS at all. The models that we really should be looking at for these systems is the CMC, Icon, and Euro. And that may sound very strange to a lot of you, but surprisingly, especially with these two systems, the CMC and Icon paint the best picture and best forecast for both these systems, especially for the second system, which I will show you, for the Icon as well in a moment. And then the Euro we can use pretty well for these two systems just to see generally the track of these systems, not for the intensity. The CMC and Icon we can show for both the track, most likely track and most likely intensity for these systems currently. So there's that first system. It heads into the Caribbean, going through later today into tomorrow, and then it will slowly make its way through the Central and Western Caribbean. Oh, we gotta let this load. My Wi-Fi has been pretty slow today, so we gotta really let this load and everything. But you can see there's that first system. It shows it wrapping up, getting pretty strong as it heads through the Western Caribbean near the Yucatan and then up into the Gulf. And then it shows the system becoming fairly decently wrapped. Let me actually zoom this in for you guys so you can see that first system. It's at 998 millibars, and then it will make landfall Oh, actually, the CMC is very interesting. Well, that's very odd. I don't know what the CMC is doing there, but takes it far north, getting towards the Texas, around Houston, around the border between Houston and Lake Charles, Louisiana, between like the Houston-Louisiana border, and then it curves this first system down farther south, and then it kind of dies out as it's heading into border of Mexico and Texas. So that's very odd. But yeah, I don't think that'll exactly happen with that first system. But, I mean, in general, for the majority of the track the CMC currently is showing for the system does look likely. It will likely do this as it goes through the Western Caribbean. It goes into the Western Caribbean. Doesn't really intensify all that much, but as it heads into the Western Caribbean, especially, it will have a harder time. It will be moving too fast to really... It will really actually, for the Central and Eastern Caribbean, as it's going through those parts of the Caribbean, the reason it won't really intensify that much is because it'll be moving too fast. It'll be moving at somewhere around 20 miles per hour for its forward speed. But as it heads into the Western Caribbean and then into the Gulf, it will slow down to be able to intensify a good bit. So this system, as of right now, looks to maybe become a weak to moderate tropical storm, maybe. And then, as you saw as a glimpse with the second system, there's that second system coming through the entire tropical Atlantic from where it is right now, just towards the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. And then CMC takes it north of Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and Cuba, makes it an extremely strong system, has it at 976 millibars, 980, 981, and then it really strengthens it right as it's making landfall in the very western Florida Panhandle around Panama, as a 970 millibar system, which would be, I believe that would be a Category 3, maybe 4. So there's also definitely a potential, especially for the second system. Particularly the second system has the most potential between the two systems to become even a major hurricane. A major hurricane for especially the second system cannot be ruled out. That is a definite possibility. And I'll show you why that seems even more likely, even though as of right now I'm just showing the CMC model and what it's showing. The CMC and then the icon is also showing these two systems. Here's the icon. There's that first system. It's kind of disorganized as we were expecting as it's going through the Eastern and Central Caribbean. But then as it's heading into the Western Caribbean, into the Gulf, it really winds itself up a good bit. Well, it winds itself up a decent bit, not all that great. You can see it only gets to around, icon shows it much weaker for the first system than the CMC, which, I mean, still generally agrees with the CMC that it will be a much weaker system than the second system potentially will be. You can see, though, the icon shows the first system make landfall around Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama area. And then with that second system, and the reason why I've now mentioned that the second system has the best potential between the two systems to become a hurricane and even a major hurricane is because the icon also agrees with the CMC currently that the second system will become extremely strong. You can see a 968 millibar low pressure system, a very strong hurricane, as it's heading just to the north of Cuba. It looks like it will, just really seeing how it tracks so far, it looks like it will continue towards the west through the Straits of Florida into the Gulf. But you can see a 968 millibar system. That's again also a Category 3, maybe Category 4 hurricane by that point. So that'd be very impressive, and I gotta say, I highly think that could happen. Though, as of right now, of course, we don't really know exactly what's going to happen with these two systems, but I got to give it to the second system right now, that it will most likely become the strongest out of the two. Just how much stronger, we'll just have to see. But the second system does look like the most likely between the two to become a hurricane and even a major hurricane. Now, I'll show you the European model, just so you guys can see kind of like the track and maybe somewhat of the intensity of the European model showing for these systems. So there's that first system. And you can see that it doesn't show that first system becoming strong at all. In fact, it shows it hitting the southern Yucatan area and Belize and that area, Guatemala. And then there's this second system. Here's the second system. Oh, wait. Hold on. Sorry about that. Something went up with the... One moment. Okay. So, sorry about that. So there's that first system again. That European shows it hitting the southern Yucatan, Belize, Guatemala area. That area, kind of that same area that what was Amanda and then became Cristobal. Kind of went over, crossed into the Gulf. That area that the European thinks will affect. And then here's that second system. That second system, the European does show, it is in agreement with the icon, especially, that the second system will become also fairly strong as it's heading up, icon and CMC, as it's heading into the Gulf and nearing the Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or Florida Panhandle coastline there. So the potential is there, especially for the second system, to become a fairly strong storm. The dry air will generally be non-existent for both systems, especially for the first system. The dry air won't be much of a threat for the first system, especially. The wind shear for the first system, we'll have to see about the wind shear for the first system. There is currently some high shear in the Western Caribbean, though I do expect that most of that strong shear should get out of the way for this first system. And I think we'll be moving fast enough that it will be getting through that area fairly quickly, and it won't slow down enough as it heads through the Western Caribbean to be bothered by that strong shear, if there is still some strong shear around, to really be bothered by that. So both these systems generally have a good environment to become as strong as they feel or want to. And the second system, there's really not much wind shear that it will have to deal with. The dry air is a little bit higher for the second system, but even that dry air looks to really dissipate as the system starts to move farther towards the west through the tropical Atlantic. So again, we're really gonna have to watch both these systems very closely to see what will happen, and the second system especially we're gonna have to watch, because it does look actually fairly likely that it will go north of Puerto Rico, according to the models right now, then go south, so that would be interesting. Though, even though it will go north of Puerto Rico, actually, it does seem more likely that it will head into the Gulf than curve up the East Coast, and that is due to the fact of the Bermuda High that's in the central Atlantic right now. It's strong enough to track these systems further to the west, but it's not weak enough to where the systems will be able to go up the East Coast. So Bermuda High will be strong enough to allow both these systems to continue far west towards the Gulf area, around towards Florida and the Gulf Coast. We're really going to, again, have to watch both these systems very, very closely. Now, let's go to the 2020 Atlantic Hurricane Season Wikipedia page, and again, we've had a total of 12 depressions, a total of 11 named storms, 2 hurricanes thus far, 0 major hurricanes, 45 total fatalities, and around $6 billion in total damage thus far this season. For these two systems, these two disturbances that we've been talking about for this video, I think both of these could become hurricanes, and even the second one could become a major hurricane. So we could see our next couple hurricanes and even our first major hurricane from these two. So that'll be very interesting. Again, we've already gone through the K name on the storm on the list. That's the 11th name. So we've already gone through 11 names thus far this season. So we're on a very record pace with these names. So the next names are Laura and Marco, and both these two disturbances look to be named. So it seems like both these systems will take Laura and then Marco. So we'll have 13 named storms, most likely by the end, from these two systems forming. And I do want to point something out with this season, because, of course, a lot of us, pretty much all of us, have said that, kind of compared this season in some way to the 2005 season because of the fact of how fast we're getting through all the names and how many names we've already gone through at this point. And the reason why, the most logical reason why we're really comparing this to the 2005 season is because of the fact that, yes, we are moving at a very fast record pace, getting through all these names so quickly up to this point, and we'll just keep going through a ton of names moving forward since we're going into the peak now. So we've gone through 11 name storms before the peak, and the peak looks to be very conducive and very prime for a lot of name storms to happen as well. So so far this season, it's kind of been a mixture of the 2005 season and 2017 season. Because here's the thing, the 2017 season up to this point had very weak systems, but it kind of had a general, systems forming one after the other pretty quickly. Not as quickly as we've seen this year, because that's where the 2005 season came in for the amount of activity we've seen thus far. The 2005 kind of aspect made all these systems really form quickly, one after the other, even more than the names formed in the beginning of the 2017 season. But as we head now into the peak of the season, it's going to be kind of a mixture of both the 2005 and 2017 season, where the 2017 season had very strong systems forming during the peak, same with the 2005 season. But the 2005 season will kind of edge out the 2017 season during the peak and going into the latter portion of the hurricane season, because of the fact that it will be very conducive with the MJO and sea surface temperatures and all of that. So we're just going to see a lot of named storms happening between especially now and the end of September. And I do think that we will enter the Greek alphabet towards the very end of September, around October 1st. So most likely once we enter October, once we're in October, we'll likely already be in the Greek alphabet, which is a horrifying thought, honestly, because we've only had to do that once in the 2005 season. And in fact, I think I'm going to have to put out a new video here on YouTube to update my 2020 Atlantic hurricane season official forecast, because right now I'm calling for 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes, and 7 major hurricanes. I'm going to have to up that named storm forecast even more now, because of the fact of how active we've been to this point, of that we've already gone through the K named storm, the 11th named storm already, and how active this peak looks to be, and how that will most likely still continue through the rest of September into October. So I'm going to have to change that most likely to now kind of a range. I'm going to put a range now for my final. This is going to be, I think, definitely my final. This is definitely going to be my final hurricane season forecast for the Atlantic. I'm going to be calling for now between 25 to 29 named storms total, 11 hurricanes and 7 major hurricanes. So I'll most likely put out that video maybe even later today or tomorrow. I might do that video for tomorrow. That might be tomorrow's video. We'll see. But, again, look out for that video, because that'll be very exciting for you guys. I know a lot of you guys love watching those videos on my channel. But, again, hopefully you really enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're a first-time viewer watching my channel and you liked what you saw in this video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.